right, you are back with comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. At the end of this pandemic, when I'm being interviewed, they're going to ask, how much of a role do you feel like you played in ending the pandemic? And I'm going to have to answer honestly. I'll have to say a big part, a huge part. It cannot be overstated how big a role this little podcast played in bringing awareness of ivermectin to the masses, at least a handful of people. And then they'll be like, how big a role do you feel like Joe Rogan's show played in bringing an end to the pandemic? And I'll be like, minor. I mean, he does have a slightly bigger audience than I do, but I did do my ivermectin episode first. I did it like a month before him. And let's not forget, it's easy talking about ivermectin in your fucking studio in Austin, in your mansion, doing cryotherapy and taking saunas. It's a different story when you're in fucking India, unvaccinated, and the only defense you have against COVID is ivermectin. One of us is walking the walk. No, fucking Rogan. The ivermectin boys were on Rogan today. Brett Weinstein and Dr. Pierre Corey. So that is pretty fucking big. That is fucking huge, actually. Joe Rogan has the biggest platform in the entire world. His show is the most powerful show in the history of media. And he had the ivermectin boys on for 3.5 hours just trumpeting the fucking use of ivermectin against COVID-19, especially as a preventative, a prophylaxis, which I and the entire family are using at the moment in India. And I've been out and about the last few days, mask off, walking around with 100% confidence. You should see me out there. I'm like a fucking lion, the king of the pride, just strutting around, chest up, side hair flowing, just going, this pandemic is a fucking joke. All it takes is 1.5 little tablets a week. So the ivermectin boys were on Rogan. They pretty much covered the same shit they covered in the Dark Horse podcast I recommended you all to watch. Quite a few of you watched it. A lot of you didn't even watch it and just took my word for it, which I appreciate more. It means you have blind faith in me, and I will be able to abuse that faith at some point in the future. But that's what you sort of need these days. You need some people you can blindly trust. You need some people that you can be almost certain are giving you good information. I'm not one of those people. Don't use me as one of those people. I will say any old fucking shit just to get a laugh. I don't give a fuck. But there is so much information out there now that it is impossible for you to even sift through anything. Even if you were looking at nutrition, it would take you your whole fucking life just to work out whether you should eat a peanut or not. There's too much information out there, so you've got to find some dudes you trust. People that have a history of thorough research and scientific investigation. Cunts like Alex Jones and David Icke, for instance. Follow some people who know what's going on. No, obviously not those guys, although they are right a lot of the time. But you do need to find some people you trust, because you can't trust the governments of the world. You can't trust any of the big corporations, big pharma, big oil, big fucking anything. You can't trust the legacy media. You can't trust fucking big tech now. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Google. They're all corrupted. So what you need to do now is you have to use your fucking intuition and find some people that you feel like you can trust. The people that seem to be giving the right information. That's what you're looking for. And they're usually not tethered to any big companies. They're not trying to earn a buck off you. They're just doing it because they're fucking experts in their field and they're fucking relaying the data to you or the results or whatever the fuck. That's the new reality. And there's a lot of charlatans out there that are just trying to make a couple of bucks off you. Join my Patreon. The links are in my social media bio, or just message me and I'll send you the link myself. Yeah, they're just trying to turn a fucking buck. Immoral, unscrupulous cunts. So now really the onus is on you to find the people you trust. So anyway, These guys being on Rogan is going to be very interesting to watch what happens next. Because Rogan gets out to like 100 million an episode, I think. Or he used to. But I think he's hitting like 50, 60 million an episode. That's a lot of fucking people. Plus, this one will spread like wildfire because every cunt will start sharing it. Now, let's see what happens. It's possible. It is possible. This is the biggest chance we've had to end this fucking pandemic now. This is really the only fucking chance. There's nowhere else to go. Rogan is the biggest fucking thing on the planet. If they can suppress that, if they can fucking take that out of the news, if they can run a disinformation campaign that negates all of Joe Rogan's listeners, we could be in some big fucking trouble here. But this could be the beginning of the end of the pandemic, especially if ivermectin works, which I am 100% sure it does. If you watched me walk around the fucking supermarket today maskless, you would have said that guy's very confident ivermectin works. But Rogan's listeners, they are action people. They're your meat and potato guys. They're the people you need to get on board something like this. They're already half skeptical about everything that's going on with the pandemic and COVID-19 and vaccines and all that. They just needed a little bit of fucking light. And they're action people too. They fucking do it. Look at all the shit that has blown up and got big that you can pretty much directly credit Joe Rogan for. UFC. If it wasn't for fucking Joe Rogan, that would be half of what it is. Comedy would be nowhere near as big as it is now without Joe Rogan. Kettlebells. Kettlebell swings. They would not even, no one would be talking about kettlebell swings. Fucking saunas. It would only be Russians with small dicks and fucking hairy bushes talking about saunas if it wasn't for fucking Rogan. Vitamin D. Oh, fucking don't worry about vitamin D. What about DMT? Every second nut job I meet now is taking DMT. When I first took it, no one. Just Joe Rogan. So if this fucking ivermectin thing can get the traction it needs to get from the Joe Rogan show, there is a light at the end of the fucking tunnel. To be honest with you, I thought my podcast was going to be enough to get ivermectin into the social consciousness, but it hasn't hurt that Joe Rogan's done it as well. But it's going to be very fucking interesting what happens now, because the kind of people that follow Rogan are not the kind of people that are gonna listen to horse shit from authority after they get some information they believe. They're not the narrative followers. And if I think what might be in motion now is actually in motion, it's going to be very hard for the vested interests to suppress this information now. It's going to be too blatant now. People are suspicious of all these cunts already. Anyway, it's going to be very fucking interesting to watch. If you haven't watched that Rogan, it was released today. Brett Weinstein, Pierre Corey. Watch it. Get on the ivermectin. Let's end this pandemic so Boyle can go on a fucking world tour, even though I've barely done stand-up for the last 18 months. Alright, that is it for tonight, and I'll see ya the fuck later.